I am Captain Spawn, and this is day 301 of Spawn Year. Dear reader, were you aware that there were Spawn Pogs? You know, that fad in the 90s where you slam milk caps with pictures on them and you get to steal all the ones from your friends that you turned over? Turns out there was a whole line of Spawn ones with images from the comics. Billy Kincaid got his own Pog. Jeez, McFarlane writes one decent story. Well, not decent, but decently written. And that child killer is the 6th Spice Girl. I bet parents buying their kids Pogs had no idea. And naturally, they were called Spogs, because you wouldn't want to miss that opportunity. Yesterday, after writing in my journal, I was thinking more about Todd McFarlane and how insanely huge a merchandising giant Spawn was. It was My Little Pony big. And I thought about the sheer number of random toys and pieces of memorabilia I've had during Spawn Year. There was stuff in the documentary I've never seen. And randomly, this thought came to me. There had to be Spawn Pogs. And of course, suddenly in my hands, there were. I really do have the most useless power set ever. Here I am trying to train for the fight of my life against a foe bound to be more experienced and a superior fighter, and I still sometimes have those stupid manifestation fits where I get preoccupied with some Spawn thing and I can't stop making the dumb things appear. I've got a lot of Spogs now. The trash can's full of these things. I get Mountain Dew on a routine basis these days, but if I can't make it stop, I might actually run my power levels dangerously low before Tiny Adam West sends my next supply. Over Spawn Pogs. Must be the nostalgia. As Doom as Vince proved in the game room, that's always been my greatest weakness. I loved Pogs. I bet I had Spawn ones too. Okay. Focus your energies in a more productive direction, Captain Spawn. Maybe concentrating on today's comic will get my mind off the Spogs. Spawn number 162 is a simple comic with one main aim. Now that Spawn has been reborn and is virtually invulnerable and possesses the power of a god, we've got to rush to the end of Armageddon and reboot this mess pronto. Spawn fights the insane Zira, who would be unstoppable given that she's literally unkillable, but Spawn has Mega Boss status now, so he impales her in a few pages, and then feels the need to announce that she's through, like they're kids on a playground and she won't cooperate with the other kid who's defeated her in a pretend angel demon fight. I eviscerated you. You're dead. Well, she can't die, but she can sure lose, so Spawn cuts her head off like Zombie Pool and goes up against the armies of heaven and hell, who form a temporary truce to rid themselves of their mutual problem, Spawn. I'm really kind of wondering why Zira had to be insane now. Meanwhile, we get some exposition between Maman and some mysterious red-eyed guy in a phantasm cloak. This guy is some sort of a parasite who feeds on humans, and he's concerned there won't be any and he can't survive after the apocalypse, which Maman failed to predict, despite Spawn's triumph being the destiny he mapped out for centuries. So Maman knew that Man of Miracles was going to set Al Simmons up to be the most specialist of Hellspawns, that he'd have whatever secret, whatever in his noggin Maman needs to get God's throne, and despite all the prophecies about Armageddon and Spawn's role in it, Maman generically knew and planned for Spawn to be triumphant, but had no idea Armageddon was coming. Maman, I think you're taking credit for things with your batty foresee everything plan you couldn't possibly have been responsible for again. This guy's just saving face, and he's terrible at it. The cloak guy only seems to be here, so far, so Maman has someone to dramatically say mankind has always feared Armageddon as the end of all things, but it is only the beginning, too. Yeah, pretty sure folks thought Armageddon was the end because that's the definition of Armageddon. Now, to be fair, biblical Armageddon describes a new heaven and a new earth, and the dead in new bodies and such, so yes, I guess it never really meant a literal end. but clearly this is how Hein is seeing his reboot. Spawn gets to speak to Granny Goodness, Granny Blake, before she dies in his wake, and it's actually a somewhat touching and appropriate send-off for her. I'm hoping Hein doesn't pull a never-ending story, reverse everything, and ruin it. Granny's sad torture is that she was given her eyes back in order to see how wrong she was about God. All her unyielding belief, despite Al's revealing the fraud of heaven got her, was a forced position in a terrible army that represents the opposite of everything she believed in. It's really sad when she tells Spawn he was right, and I'm impressed that whole thing was paid off so well. As she dies, Granny still refuses to give up hope, saying there still has to be paradise out there somewhere. And she says she was right about Spawn being an angel, which I don't really like because she has no idea what kinds of things he's done. What's sadder is how she'd feel if she knew how ridiculous and nonsensical the real Grand Planner, Man of Miracles, really is. So Angel Spawn, who does look pretty awesome by the way, goes up against the combined forces of heaven and hell, does his super special move that's probably like up, down, A, B, right, B, left, select, A, B, right, diagonal, select, to pull off, and everybody's dead. According to the text we get from the Book of Spawn, yeah, you get scripture now, just because his name's in the title, on top of everything else. All of mankind is no more. Whoops. That was sorta overkill there, Spawn. Too bad you didn't have time to visit Professor Xavier's school for gifted spawns before you started using your new powers unsupervised. Let me guess, Mama knew that was gonna happen too. And then Spawn wept. I love how he's suddenly this tragic figure who's just trying to save mankind and fails, and he's the victim in it all. Look at the cover. He's got his wings and holding Cyan's pacifier. Now that's probably supposed to represent his innocent rebirth. Spawn's seeing the world through the eyes of a child, and he's pure and blameless now. No. He's always been a child, and that's why none of this works. Anyway, excuse me, I gotta pick up some of these pogs. Signed, Captain Spawn.